Welcome to Fight News Now Extra. My name is John Pollock. We've got an extensive look at UFC 192 coming up with John Ramdine and Robin Black, including the main event as Daniel Cormier and Alexander Gustafsson fought for the light heavyweight title, and Rashad Evans made his return to the octagon after almost 2 years since his last fight. In the main event of UFC 192, Daniel Cormier and Alexander Gustafsson had a 25-minute war for the UFC light heavyweight title, with the fight largely being a standing, striking affair. Cormier used a game plan of eliminating distance and utilizing short uppercuts while clinching with Gustafsson, who battled to create distance and surprised Cormier with a number of takedowns throughout the fight. Both men took a lot of damage in this fight, with Cormier injuring his right eye and Gustafsson having numerous lacerations over his face. The judges were split, with Cormier retaining his title on scores of 49-46, 48-47, and a 48-47 scorecard for Gustafsson. Former light heavyweight champion Rashad Evans returned to the octagon for the first time since November of 2013 and met Ryan Bader this past Saturday. Bader used superior footwork throughout the 3 rounds to sneak through with right hands all fight long. Evans had his most success when trying to back Bader up against a cage, but Bader would quickly return to the middle en route to a unanimous decision victory and his 5th straight victory. And one fight that didn't take place over the weekend was the Johnny Hendricks-Tyron Woodley fight, after Hendricks was forced to go to the hospital on Thursday night and dealt with a blockage in his intestine and a kidney stone as he was trying to cut weight. Dana White spoke to FS1 and stated that Hendricks came into fight week 26 pounds above the weight limit and says he is pushing for Hendricks to make the move to 185 pounds for his next fight. I'm here with Robin Black and John Ramdine to chat about UFC 192 from Saturday night. On top, Daniel Cormier retains the UFC Light Heavyweight Championship, defeating Alexander Gustafsson. How did you guys score the fight?
I actually, at the time, I had every round for Daniel Cormier. I think that it was very, very close. That, in a perfect world where we can, adjust the scoring, that it would be 9.5 rounds for Alexander Gustafsson, and Daniel Cormier walked around with 10 points every round. However, when I saw the one score, 49-46, I think that does make sense. And Robin and I were discussing it, round 2, I guess, going to Alexander Gustafsson. Yeah. But for the most part, it was Daniel Cormier's fight.
All the judges had round 2 for Gustafsson. I did at the time. Round 3 is a weird one. I sent a couple texts out this morning to some referee friends and judge friends. When you're really definitively winning a round, and no doubt about it, 30 seconds left, this is my 10-9, clean 10-9 round, and then a guy drops me, maybe it's a draw, But even whether you give that round to Cormier or that round to Gustafsson or call that round a draw, you're winning like crazy, and then it's taken away from you by being dropped. Either way, Cormier would still win.
I thought that was, it's how much you value that knee. Yeah. That, you could argue that was the most significant strike of the fight. And you give round 2 to Gustafsson, and that 4th was super close. So some people were outraged that there was a Gustafsson 3-2 card. I didn't think that was outrageous at all. I think most would agree Daniel Cormier won this fight, but this was a super competitive 25-minute fight. I think it's a fight that is going to have effects on both of these guys down the road, and I think Daniel Cormier probably does take a bit of a break at this point. And with Jon Jones not exactly ready to fight tomorrow, maybe that's a good thing. Maybe you do hold this off till UFC 200, or at least till the spring of next year.
Maybe, but the guy's 36 years of age. You've got to get as many fights in as humanly possible, because all it takes is one training session. You blow your knee out, you're out for 2 years, and you can't afford that. Again, I understand you want to. After a fight like this,
you want to back into the pay-per-view. You wait till 200. That's going to be like 2 fights.
I get that,
That's
but
true.
At the same time, you still want to be as active as humanly possible, because you never know when things are going to end.
You said that fight would definitely affect both guys, and I agree with you, negatively and positively as well. Physically, it'll take its toll. One day there'll be pains that hit you at 50 or 52 or next week that are a direct result from that fight. But you also, both men really learned a lot about themselves. That's why Cormier was thanking Gustafsson for that. It's a very special thing those guys got to share. Most of us will never experience anything like that in our lives, and they got to do it. Cormier learned that when the going gets tough, if he has to do it the hard way, and he did it the hard way. Rounds 4 and 5, he had to walk through a guy throwing strikes at him and just sort of will himself through it, and he did it.
In the event Jon Jones is not ready for this next title defense and Daniel Cormier is ready to fight, did Ryan Bader do enough to put himself in that position for the next title fight?
Again, he won. You look at the fact that he's won a bunch of fights in a row over some big-name guys, Rashad Evans, the former light heavyweight champion, and Phil Davis, a guy that a lot of people felt was one of the top 205-pound fighters in the world. Then, yeah, I guess based on those things, put Ryan Bader in there. However, Teixeira might have something to say about that.
I'm one of these annoying purists, I admit it, and I think if you do beat almost everybody that needs to be beat in your division, you're the next guy to get a title fight. And, hey, for whatever reason, he doesn't capture people's imagination, but the dude can fight, and the dude has earned it. Now, having said that, at the same time, John Jones, the best fighter in the world, and if he's sorted his stuff out, he'll be up.
But when you look at things objectively, and if you're the UFC, it's like, okay, we're here to sell pay-per-views.
Yep.
Is Ryan Bader the guy that's going to sell a bunch of pay-per-views? If I'm the UFC, it's actually, no, we're going to take Alexander Gustafsson, we're going to make them rematch, or Anthony Rumble Johnson. I think those are fights that people, I'm sure, just like the first fight with John Jones and Gustafsson, there are many people out there believed that Gustafsson won that fight, and I'm sure there's a lot of supporters of Alexander Gustafsson who believe the same thing in this fight with Daniel Cormier.
Also on the card, I mean, the preliminary fights, I mean, you got a lot of action on the undercard.
Albert
Tumanov, Adriano Martins, and Sage Van Zandt, your man, Robin.
Holy smokes.
Hey, man, we were talking about this on 5 rounds. It's a strange place for anybody to be in, whatever it is you do, when you're kind of already positioned as a star before you've yet proven that you're great. It must be a very hard, stressful environment for a 19-year-old, and the dude killed it. Good for him, man. Good for you, Sage Van Zandt.
Last thing, just on the main card, we had both Juliana Pena and Joseph Benavidez in kind of a role where they're trying to move towards a title fight for Pena, a rematch for Benavidez. Did they get any closer, either of them?
Again, Benavidez is a close fight. He's facing off the guy that challenged for the title. You get a victory. I say yes, but I don't think the UFC will look at it this way. And for Pena, definitely, you're looking for challengers at her weight division. So she's a good-looking girl who gets a victory. Yes, I think she moves a step closer.
And she seems a little off her rocker, which is great. That just adds to the fun.
All right, he's Robin Black, John Ramdine. I'm John Pollock. Stay tuned because we have more Fight News Now Extra coming up.